There we go. All right, we're started, Mr. Barbier. Hey, the last of the three interviews we're doing for the inaugural newsletter is with Mr. Barbier. He's new to the district this year, certainly not new to teaching. And one of the reasons I chose him, besides the fact that he was a new teacher, was he has a cool last name. First question for you, Mr. Barbier. Am I pronouncing it right? Barbier? Barbier?
Yeah, the actual correct French pronunciation is Barbier.
Barbier, I like that.
But I do too, actually.
I like that.
But it's sort of been Americanized over the years.
Yeah.
So the rest of my family goes by Barbier, and so I guess so I don't sound like a crazy person. I've accepted that, but I don't really mind either one.
So the background of it is the French.
French, yeah.
French surname.
French
So
name.
can you trace your family back to the homeland, or is it?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so
we sure can.
A few generations. It wasn't like you just came over on the boat, right?
No, back in the 1800s. But
Cool. Okay, so we'll use that as a start. We now know he has his roots, family roots, go back to France, and take us back in time. That's what I've done with all the teachers I've interviewed. Kind of go through from your college years to where you've been before here and how you got to Gilbert High School.
Okay, well, I graduated from Black Hills State University in Spearfish, South Dakota a long time ago. And
They had chalkboards, right?
oh, absolutely,
All right.
yeah. I got my first teaching job in Dickinson, North Dakota,
Dickinson, North Dakota. Is there a lot of wind out there?
There's a lot of wind.
Is there more like animals than there are people?
I think there might be, yeah. Which I stayed in Dickinson for 8 years, and
Wow.
that's essentially why I left. It's a wonderful town, great school, great place, but in the middle of nowhere. And, it's back in my 20s, and you always think you're missing out on something.
Yes, of course.
And,
There's
maybe I was. I don't know, but
social life and everything like
right,
that.
so-
How big a town was Dickinson?
Dickinson is about it's 18,000 people, but it's very much like Ames in that it's a college town. Dickinson State University.
Dickinson State, okay.
And so, 3,000-4,000 of the residents would leave every summer.
So it kind of,
Yeah.
like Ames does, you can
Right.
actually navigate through certain parts of town in the
Exactly.
summertime.
A little different size of schools
Yeah.
and towns, but kind of the same relative. In fact, Dickinson reminds me a lot of Gilbert in many ways, because a lot of the college professors had their kids go to school at Dickinson
Right there.
High, and I taught
Yeah.
them and those kinds of things. So just kind of like here.
So did you get married right after college then, or?
Yeah.
So you were married in Dickinson. That's
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
After Dickinson, did you pick up and leave the state, or where'd you go after that then?
Yeah, we'd been there, like I said, 8 years, and it was kind of one of those deals where it came that point in life where it was time to either buy a house and make roots
Right.
and start a family, or is this where we really want to retire type thing, because just when you first start teaching, of course, when you have that 2-bedroom apartment,
Sure,
compared
yeah.
to college, you think you're living large.
The high life there.
Eight years later, you're like, yeah, I don't really like sharing a laundry room with my whole floor.
Right.
It's
And
time to buy
you're
one.
in that professional stage of your life, even though you're still young, you're kind of
Right.
you're a teacher, and not everybody else is probably in the same boat as you in an
Right.
apartment complex.
That is so true.
Yeah.
So we decided to pick up and move to Minnesota, and we ended up
Did you get your beach shorts on and everything?
Right. Southern Minnesota, I taught in a school called St. Charles. It's right between Rochester and Winona.
Yep.
But we actually lived in Rochester.
I've been to Winona.
Really?
Yes, I
There
had
you go.
friends in college there. We went and visited. I think back then we called it a road trip, but we visited up there.
Okay.
So it was fun.
That's a great place.
Yes,
And
it is.
It was another terrific school. And that was sort of a crossroads in my life, because when I was in North Dakota, believe it or not, I coached both girls basketball and boys basketball.
Oh, I've
Because
places like that. I've
Girls
heard that
basketball
happen.
was in the fall. Yeah, girls
Now
basketball.
that I haven't heard
Yep.
before.
In the Dakotas, both South Dakota and North Dakota, girls basketball started in the fall. Volleyball and girls basketball were just switched. So
Really?
you'd coach girls basketball from August till November-ish, and then start the boys season from November to March. And
So you
It was
rolled
great.
from basketball to basketball.
Yep, it was great.
What do you? I've coached both boys and girls as I coach soccer here, and I've had 2 daughters who've taught me a lot about different methods of coaching. What do you think is and this is a sidebar here, obviously, that when you go from a girls to a boys or boys to girls, what is one of the differences you see in your approaches, or do you approach them boys and girls the same, no matter what gender?
I always have approached it the same, and I've always found it strange that anyone wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because in your classroom, if you went to a teacher and you said, "Do you prefer to teach girls or boys in your classroom?" And most people would look at you like, well, what's
Don't
crazy?
you teach students?
You teach students. And I've also thought the same thing about coaching. It really doesn't make any difference. But I will tell you one definitive difference. Girls smell better.
Yes, they do.
Anybody,
And they're more worried about what their hair looks like
That's
before a
also
game,
true.
aren't they?
That's also true. But anybody who's ever walked into a boys' locker room during football season knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you can't
There's
even-
only so much Stetson you can spray in the air to cover the
That's
aromatic
absolutely
blend
right.
of the smell.
So other than the smell, I think that I've always found them very similar. But so I coached both in North Dakota, and then when I got to Minnesota, the seasons like Iowa are the same.
Yep.
So I had to choose, and that's where I chose the path to with girls basketball.
Yeah.
And
Now you've
have ever
coached
since.
every year that you've been teaching too, right? You've
Yeah.
coached. Now,
Over
how many?
23.
23 years.
23rd
Gosh,
year.
Gosh.
I know I'm old.
Well, yeah, I'm right with
Maybe
you.
not.
You have a little more of the darker shades in your hair.
Yeah,
yet
but,
than I
not,
do.
but what's left of it is dark, but there's not that much left.
And in 23 years, what other sports have you coached along the way?
Well, I started out coaching baseball, and I love baseball.
Yeah.
But except it's in the summer, and you know that as a soccer coach, the season that you coach flies by. Who wants your summer to fly by?
Right.
So that's why I coach basketball, because I want the winter to fly by. So that is one of the main reasons I got out of baseball, though, is because you have to give up your summer.
Yes.
Love the sport, and then football. I helped out with football for a few years while I was in St. Charles, and then, like I said, boys and girls basketball.
And then this year, did you also help?
Oh, and
with
cross country. Yes, I'm sorry. Of course, cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, so after you're done in Minnesota, you've been married and teaching almost a decade or more now.
Yeah.
Where's your next stop on the path?
Well, I moved in Minnesota. It was actually one of the biggest mistakes I made in my career. It really was. I left St. Charles, and then a wonderful school, just a great place, about the size of Gilbert, just terrific place, and every place I've been has been terrific. But I went to Farmington, Minnesota, which is a 4A school in Minneapolis.
In a suburb or
In a
right
suburb,
yep.
southern suburb of Minneapolis, and to be honest with you, I went there for all the wrong reasons. My ego didn't really allow me to say no. I eventually applied, but after they asked me to.
Right.
They contacted me.
Ooh, they contacted
Yeah.
me. I feel good about that.
We'd been pretty successful in girls basketball, and they needed a girls basketball coach, and like I said, they contacted me, and it was a considerable pay raise. And
That always looks good, doesn't it?
it does. And,
It does.
and-
It's alluring.
And so I just, like I said, my ego wouldn't allow me to say no.
Sure.
I mean, they asked me, and it was.
Well,
a
we've
pay
all
raise,
been
and
there before. It's like, yeah, this is
And so,
me.
Farmington had 1,700 kids, grades 10 through 12. It was a 10 through 12 high school, so classes of over 500 to 600.
Wow.
And
Get
it
to the
just
size of
it just
Anchor
wasn't me.
almost,
It
yeah.
just wasn't me. There was wonderful people there. I respect the heck out of the people that taught there. It just wasn't me. I was a small school guy.
I felt the same way because for the first 5 years of my career, I taught names, and it was an ego thing too. I'd worked in the system. I'd gotten to know people. I'd coached there, and then this job came open. I thought, this is the place. This is
Right.
so awesome. This is a sign. It just came open, and I found the same thing. Great people, great teachers. I miss the people there. But here, Gilbert, it seems like the size makes a difference. The size of the classroom, getting to know
Right.
a lot of the kids. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about. So then it wasn't a long stint at Farmington then?
No. Just I stayed at Farmington 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 'cause I just
I
decided.
bet your
that-
wife was happy about that. Moving again.
Well, not really, but so that's when I ended up in Iowa. So I was looking for a job. I really wanted my job back at St. Charles, but of course they already hired
Yep,
someone.
they're done. Yep.
And so I was looking for schools about that size. Also, our oldest now, my oldest son is 21 right now. He was going into the 7th grade. And
Oh,
boy,
it's a critical time.
I figured
yeah.
out Farmington was not the right place.
Too big.
Way
There are
too
some
big.
issues with the bigger schools. It's
And
just-
he was going to get lost in the shuffle and just be a number. And,
Yep.
and again, God bless the people who can do it.
Yep.
That it works for, but it just wasn't right for us. And so we ended up coming to Iowa, and I got a job at Sioux Central, just south of Spencer.
Now that's where you and I have kind of crossed paths because my family is Sioux Rapids, Iowa, right?
Right, Sioux Rapids, Iowa.
Gustafson Lake are out there. With
Yeah,
the schools right there.
That's
So,
exactly what it is. Gustafson Park.
Gustafson Park, and then I forget what the lake's name is.
Yeah.
But the school's right next to it.
Exactly.
And my aunt taught there years and years ago. She's in her mid to late 60s now. And my Uncle Kurt farms, the family still farms there 4,000 acres of land. So I'm familiar with the area. And actually my brother graduated from there. That's a whole other story. Yeah, my brother graduated from there. I graduated from Oklahoma. It's just another story entirely. But so I'm familiar with where you were at. So from there you got the smaller school back. That's a good thing. Yeah.
We stayed at Sioux Central for 8 years.
Yep.
8 absolutely terrific years. We had a great run with girls basketball, terrific people, terrific kids, and would still be there. Was very happy there.
Yeah.
Except for this opportunity came at Gilbert, and I thought, well, I got about 20 years of teaching left.
Sure.
And as great a place as Sioux Central is, it's facing some of the same problems as all of rural Iowa.
Dwindling population.
Declining enrollment.
Yep.
And there's always talk about how many years will it be before we combine with this next district and this district and that district.
And pretty soon you change the whole identity of a school.
You do. And just each year you have a little bit less than you had the year before.
Yes.
In the 8 years I was at Sioux Central, we cut back our industrial arts shop program. We cut back a few sports. We cut back. Now, they weren't major cutbacks that made a huge difference, but just a different atmosphere than Gilbert, where it's going the other way, where we're talking about, boy, in a few years we're going to have to add on here, and it's just a much better feeling, I guess. It's a better atmosphere in the whole.
Even if we're not growing by leaps and bounds, we're kind of progressing in a positive direction.
And Sioux Central is very much the opposite. It wasn't declining by leaps and bounds, just a little bit every year, to where you didn't even notice from one year to the next, but when you start looking 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
And the other part of the story is I also have a first grader.
Yes.
And 3-year-old twins.
21 3-year-old twins. Wow.
Yeah, that is another side.
Wow. That keeps you busy though, I'm guessing. Too.
Well, everyone says that.
Now, when this opportunity came up, and then we'll talk about the models you hired in your picture I put on the in a second, but your wife then, does her job allow her to, is she able to get a new job, or does she have is she staying home with those little ones?
No. My wife's in the insurance business. She sells health insurance.
Oh, okay.
And there's been some crazy changes with healthcare reform, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they're good or bad, but I just know that it's her industry has changed a bunch. She needed to move closer to the middle of the state.
Right.
She travels all over the state of Iowa.
And you're on an outpost up there. You're almost in Minnesota.
Right. When we first moved up there, again, that was part of the appeal. Her territory was that part of the state. Yep. And so she lived right in the middle of her territory. And her territory has expanded to the entire state. So eventually we needed to get more centrally located.
And this is about as central as you can get, isn't it?
Right. So, and again, it wasn't like we were panicking and saying we have to take the first place. But we
so this was
Gilbert
just kind of the cosmic interaction of everything where you saw this open. It was a good time for you, and it fit her plans as well. So that's kind of good. So, and then and of course, we had a math opening here. So sometimes I've had a couple times where I've talked to some other people here in these interviews where things just worked out. It seemed to be the right thing to do. And then obviously this time it was a school of size that you like. It wasn't the money, or it wasn't the allure of the money or the extra money. It was, this place fits me too.
Well, nobody ever turns down money.
No. Not especially teachers.
but no, that really had nothing to do with it. It was more the kind of place that we wanted to raise our family and wanted to be. And I heard such good things about Gilbert, both from people in Gilbert and the perception outside of Gilbert. It was very positive. And now that I've been here, well, what's it been now? We're in November, so 3-4 months.
Yep.
I think that the reality even exceeds those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Expectations. Yeah, it's been terrific. So we're really, really glad we made the move.
Good. Now we'll talk about the models I have. I got you and a picture of your wife, and I think it must be your son. So we'll talk about the twins and the 1-year-old too. So talk about your family a little bit. Your wife is in insurance. What's her name?
Lynn.
Lynn. And she's adjusting to the community well here, or
Yeah, loves it.
I'm guessing she's busy as all get out with her job too, so.
Well, yeah, the insurance is a funny business. They're super busy for a while, and then she has all kinds of time off,
And so her adjustment here has been a positive one too.
oh yeah, she loves it.
And your 21-year-old son, or is he?
Well, he's in Seattle.
He's out, he's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't really care where he calls home.
He's that phase of life where you were with your first teaching job. Hey,
Right.
2-bedroom apartment's fine with
Right.
me, or, so what does he do? Is he still going to school, or?
No, Matt is in the Air Force.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's stationed in Tacoma, actually,
Yes.
right next to Seattle, and he's doing absolutely great.
Good, good.
We have just, well, I don't know if it's a big concern. We're a little worried about him getting sent to Iraq right now.
Sure. I have a
Because-
brother in the
Yeah.
Army that is older than me and been in the Army for quite a while. You always worry about that when
Yeah.
they get called out. You know?
He's been sent a couple times already, but this one seems a little scarier.
It'd be nice if he wasn't sent,
This,
wasn't
he's gone to other places where we haven't been. Maybe there's been quite as many
Right.
crazy terrorist bombings and
Well,
things.
good.
Now,
Well,
he's not the least bit worried.
of
about
course
it.
not.
No,
He's
but
21,
just- right.
22. He's invincible, right?
Yeah, he's looking forward to it. But
Yeah, good. Your youngsters then, 3-year-old twins and a 1-year-old?
no, a first grader.
First grader.
First grader.
First grader.
TJ is our first grader, and he's in Miss Sharping's class down here at, in Gilbert Elementary, and loves it.
Good,
Loves it. She's
good.
a great teacher.
And what'd you say, 3-year-old twins?
3-year-old twins,
Wow.
yeah, Jack and Jaden. They are right over here at Caterpillar Clubhouse, and again, adjusting great. They love it. So,
Well, when you're young, that age, they probably don't even realize, well, we're at a new place, and but so soon, it seems like they're adjusted so well. I remember moving at the end of my sophomore year, and I thought I was going to have to divorce my family because I was so entrenched with my friends. And you talked about your son in 7th grade. I know exactly what you're talking about. When you look forward, he thinks I've got all these friends and I'm having it cool here, but you're looking forward to what his life like maybe in high school, and you realize that whether he knows it or not, you know that there's probably a better place for him. It ended up, my move turned out to be one of the better things I did with my life, but we couldn't predict that. And it sounds like your moving about has been a progression, most of it positive. And we hope you're having a great time here, because I've heard a lot of good things about you from the students and from the staff. And good luck with basketball coming up. Your season, like you say, will fly by. I know my soccer season flies by, and it's an indoor sport at least. I mean, you don't have to worry. You only have to worry about getting there or getting home. But you don't have to worry about practices being moved inside. They're already inside. And it's a good sport. I think you'll find out you have good kids here too. And math has been all along. When you went to college, you knew that math instruction was what you wanted to get into, or was that? And so when you went to college, it was the express purpose of getting your teaching endorsement and teaching math. So,
right.
Well, good. All right, well, we'll end our interview here now. I appreciate your time. Thank you. And, you're the last thing I have to do, so I'm going to get this uploaded and get it online, and then people can view it. So I appreciate you taking your time out to do this.
All right, it's been fun.
Yeah.